Counselor, aye.
Rusty, go and pass that off to Jerry.
Okay, I'd like to begin talking about Megan's Law. Megan's Law was a federal law passed in 1996 from this little 7-year-old girl named Megan Kanka, who was raped and murdered by a known sexual predator that her family did not know lived in their neighborhood, yet other members of the community were aware that he was living there, but her family had no idea. So they fought legislation to get this law passed. And since 1996, all states have been required to have some form of Megan's Law. And that's from the aboutcrime.com. And I'd also like to reference to a local case that happened in July 23rd of 2005, where Kaylee Edster was 18 months old and her mother's boyfriend molested her and beat her to death. And this man had history of molesting family members in the past, and nobody ever came forward and talked about it, so he was never publicly named or shamed. So Kaylee's death could have been prevented if we would have been aware that, this man was a child molester. So one of the loopholes of the justice system is that public defenders, if they offend whether a juvenile records are sealed. So there's no way anyone could ever find out about that. So there's just so many holes in the justice system, and it fails people on a daily basis. So it's really important for the community to come together and just name and shame public sex offenders, because children can't speak up for themselves. Like, you need to be the voice of the children and protect the children, because it's just, child molesters are the worst type of criminal, and by all means, naming and shaming them is only the beginning of what these people deserve.
Okay. Mr. Goodale, for the defense.
As Counselor Porter said when he came up here, what is a sex offender? Simply enough, if you break down the word itself, it's someone, obviously, who offends somebody through a criminal act of sexual content. Not everybody who is labeled as a sex offender necessarily commits these acts. CNN did a report about 2 separate individuals in different states. The first was Matthew Freeman, who, when he was 16 years old, through a mutual friend, began dating a girl that was 14 years old. They had dated for several months, and then eventually decided to take that extra step in their relationship. When her mother found out, she had pressed charges, and she said in her statement that it was the only way she felt she could end the relationship. Matthew Freeman is now 20 years old, still has to register as a sex offender, and the girl's mother is actually wrote a letter to the state trying to get him off the registry, but the state keeps throwing it out, saying there's no way. Second case is that they did not release his last name. His name is Ricky. He was at a club similar to the Underground for 16 to 20-year-olds. You have to be within the age limit to get in. There was a girl he met there. They hit it off really well. And again, they dated for several months and then took it to the next level. About 3 or 4 days after they had done this, the police knock on his door. They start questioning about her whereabouts. She had run away. When they get into it, they realize that she was not staying with him, but they had asked, because they were dating, had they slept together. Said, yeah, several times. They made him sign a statement. After he signed the statement, they then told him that the girl was only 13 years old. She had lied about her age to get into the establishment and meet guys older than her. The girl's parents sat with Ricky and his mother and said they did not want to press charges. But since he signed the statement saying that he did have sexual intercourse with the girl, the district attorney actually pressed charges against him. Now, in the state of Oklahoma, when you're put on the list, you cannot get off. Ricky is now about to turn 21. He wanted to join the military, but since he is a registered sex offender, he cannot. The Navy told him, because he had his record expunged several months ago, that if they could get his name off of the registry, he could join the military. So one thing he's always wanted to do his entire life, but he can't. Now, what's significant about these two cases is that nobody actually committed an offense, but both people have to register as sex offenders. Both people have support from their victims' families, but they still have to register as sex offenders. Matthew Freeman was taken back to court because a local mother found him on the registry and noted that he lived within 1,000 yards or feet of a school, which he had lived all his life. You know, he didn't move because they didn't have the money. He's working to help his mother with the bills. But because he was taken back to court, now he has to rework his entire life. All because, you know, some lady wanted to press charges to get him away from her daughter. Matthew Freeman, or not Matthew Freeman, I'm sorry, Ricky can't get a job. In the state of Oklahoma, when you're on the registry for life. There is no getting off. So here you have two people who didn't offend anybody. You know, one guy made his girlfriend's mom mad. You know, the other guy just really is a victim of circumstance. He was actually lied to be put in that position, so he's kind of the victim himself. The issue with the registry is that it only tells you, the people reading the website or the letter, what the person was charged of. Matthew Freeman was charged with felony abuse of a minor. Now that he's 20 years old, all the parents at the school naturally assume that he's a pedophile and a rapist. But he wasn't. He was 16 when the act was committed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. For the prosecution, Mr. Trent.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor. I would like to address one issue first, and Mr. Goodale, with your case, don't parents have the right to protect their children, no matter what stance that, or under what circumstance that would be? My colleagues and I are here today not to take on an overall stance, but the fact that we should be, or that the sex offenders should publicly be shamed on the grounds of protection. Now, this protection is awareness. We have awareness on the roads and on the streets from DUIs, drunk drivers. Their vehicles themselves have yellow plates with red writing. The letters are red. Now, our sex offenders, I was just informed of this, that they do have green plates with pink writing on them.